All right, welcome guys. Welcome to the Children of God pod. My name's Wyatt. We got Enze over here in the red shirt and Brett all the way over on that couch over there. We got 2 couches, 2 cameras, 3 microphones, and we're really just trying to spread the word of God, just kind of having the Holy Spirit guide this conversation. And so we can really just shepherd the flock of whatever God decides to give to us. But I think the main purpose of this is we really want to just focus on ourselves and the group and kind of enriching each other up and really just going after it, becoming better Christians in ourselves, and hopefully some other people kind of find that cool. So the name of the podcast, like I said, it's the Children of God pod. Already introduced us, and where are we located? We're in Indianapolis, Indiana. You know, it's beautiful outside. We're just going through some storms right now, a bunch of lightning, so hopefully everything doesn't shut off or you guys don't hear any rain hitting the roof. But, you know, today's going to be kind of more of an introductory sort of episode rather than like actually diving into the word, so you can kind of get to know the stars of the show. So the first question we have is, how do we become friends or meet? So I know you guys have been friends for longer, so go ahead and kick it off.
So me and Brett met in high school. It was like sophomore year. Through a mutual friend. Went to basketball tryouts, and you know, that's kind of where it went from there. We won't talk about those basketball tryouts.
We will. We definitely will.
Go right ahead, talk about
We
it.
will not talk about the basketball tryouts. But basically from there, you know, we kind of been friends since then. Basketball, track, video games. It's kind of
A lot of video games.
a lot of late nights. A lot of late nights. But that's how we met. We met Wyatt here at Redeemer, our church. I'd been going there for like a month. Heard about it from Brett. Been there for like a month, and then Wyatt joined like a week after.
Right. So I joined around late March, early April, kind of that sort of area. So at the time of recording this podcast, I've been going for about 3, almost 4 months, give or take. But yeah, I'd love to hear more about that basketball tryout. So please dwell into it a little bit.
Let's not.
I think timing wise, I think you joined Connor's discipleship group like right when I left it to start the group that Enze joined.
Okay,
Like
probably,
I think
yeah.
like literally I was like, oh, I don't know who this is because he's in Connor's group, and you joined like a week after I left. Like the
Right.
next week you were there. Basketball tryouts were pretty fun. We knew we wanted to be friends with the guy when we saw like the 5'5" white kid get rebounds on Enze every single possession, and we're like, wow,
No.
this guy is kind of frustrating. So we like to play against him in tryouts. I attribute his lack of rebounding to me making the team because my team would always win. And then we just hit it off from there. So, yeah. I appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime. I will purposely sell rebounds to help a brother out.
So the reason you made the team is because Enze couldn't rebound?
I mean, it helped because I always played against him. So my team always won. I could throw up a 3, know he wouldn't get the rebound, and I'd have another chance to get it because my team would get it and kick it back out, and I could put up another.
In my defense, back then, I was not the most physically gifted. I definitely grew into it,
You were still 6'1".
but I was not blessed with any vertical. Had to work for it. Thankfully, had the genes, but had to work for it still. And
You were still 6'1".
it doesn't matter. Some might say I was 5'10" at the time. There's no record.
Okay.
No record. So I see you guys met in sophomore year. Did you guys go to the same high school in freshman year, or how did that did somebody move to the school, or what happened with that?
Yeah, so I was at a school called Suburban Baptist School, little, or I guess it's not little now, but back then, you know, we had about 25 people in our class, and I went there 8th grade and freshman year. Before we were in the same school system, and then I moved to Perry sophomore year, and that's when we had met again. Yeah, or for the first time, I guess it was.
Yeah. That was that's when I had Keck's class with Chat, and then we would talk about basketball tryouts, and then that's kind of how we came to know you. Was talking about you and laughing at you in Keck's class, and then we're like, oh, we should just hang out with this guy.
I was silently bullied.
Well,
So it's still true to this day, just not silent, huh?
well, at the same time, Chat was bullied because we thought his name was Shaq for the first like month and a half.
He did not play like Shaq.
That's what it sounded like he said his name was, but
Didn't know his name was Chat with a C
or a T.
or a T until like
It was a month into the basketball season. Easy.
Yeah, because you mentioned his name, and I was like, all right, are they like brain rotted TikTok individuals? And they're just like, all right, chat, like, let me do this. Like, let me do this. Okay, like they're talking to like their stream or whatever. And they're like, no, this is our friend. His name is Chat. And I'm like, all right, sounds good.
No, he had just, I think, very recently before then, like moved from Thailand. And so his accent was still very strong. And we're like, he's trying out for basketball. He's funny. He says his name is Shaq. We'll roll with it, man. We'll roll with it. I think it was when Coach finally was like, Shaq. And he's like, who? And we're like, that's you. Like, that's your name. And he's like, no, it's not. We finally realized. So we were friends for a while. And we didn't even know his name. So that's a guy thing, I think.
Right.
I've been friends with people I still don't know their name. So
yeah, you get like you just wait until somebody like says it in a conversation, and you're just like, oh, and then you say it over and over again to kind of memorize it. Yeah,
that's their name then.
I mean, I could go months and just be like, "What's up, dude?"
Yeah,
I have no idea who I'm talking to.
Bro, dude, or just don't even say anything. Just what's up?
Like, what's up? What's going on? Yeah, exactly. So, how did you guys like kind of have that conversation that like you both knew you were Christians, or was it just like kind of you saying you came from a Christian school?
You want to take this? I don't remember exactly how it went. The first thing I remember though is I had said I came from a Christian school, and then like maybe I don't know if it was that same year or the next, you had invited us to your church.
I think it was that same year.
That same year.
Because that was I don't actually remember.
The friend I'd met him through, I went to his church for a few events. And then
I think it was that same year.
Maybe it was a talent show. Like they do
Let's not talk about the talent show.
They have an event where it's just kind of like all the campuses around them meet in the same spot or go to the Greenwood campus. I'm pretty sure that's the first church event I went with you to. And that's kind of where we we'd known before, but
yeah. And then so we went to Emmanuel for a while, which is around here.
Right. Yeah, that's the church I went to before I actually like switched over to Redeemer and met you guys.
Yeah, and we did like their high school youth group there, and at one point we did a talent show. I still say we got robbed. We lost to some like 8-year-old kid that did a magic trick or something. It was kind of ridiculous.
What was your guys' talent?
Enze was on the mic. We had Chat on the mic and playing guitar, and then I was playing drums using a tennis ball and a guitar case. And we did, I don't even remember. I think we did Old Town Road. We did the Awimba Way, like African song. I think that might have been the only two.
Yeah, that's all we did.
And I think we got second place, but we lost to some like, which is not the only time I got second place there in a competition, because they had a Halloween competition and I dressed up as the Joker and went ham and got second place to some like 8-year-old kid in a Batman costume. I was kind of mad, but
just always losing to 8-year-olds, huh?
Dude,
8-year-olds.
Honestly, in video games, probably who I lose to in FIFA and Foot Champs every week too. But that's why we retired from that. You can only go 8-12 so many times.
So one thing I've always been meaning to ask you is, we kind of like, we only know Indiana basically, but how is it like growing up in LA? Like what part was it? LA?
So I grew up in Los Angeles. Yeah. So I grew up in the coastal cities of Los Angeles. So like all the beach cities. That one of the main things that I had to get used to coming to Indiana was changing to the weather. This rainstorm was I probably experienced this sort of rain 3 times in my life before moving to Indiana.
3 times.
And I lived in Los Angeles from the age of 3 all the way up into 17 until I went to college at Indiana University. It's my father's alma mater, so that's why I came here. I had other dream schools and other aspirations, but it was like, you know what? In-state tuition, when you're looking financially and you get it's only at 25% of the cost of the other schools you're going to or looking at.
Yeah.
It kind of makes your decision for you. So, moving from that place, I've always kind of been changing and going through my parents' divorce. I was always moving around, whether it was just like the same couple of cities or whatnot. So I still had the same friend groups and that sort of thing. But weather was always the main thing. Like having to buy my first winter coat, coming to school in Indiana, it was like the weather is the one thing I could talk about all over and over again. 50 to 70 degrees with a perfect ocean breeze. And there was only 1 month every single year that it was just kind of like gloomy and cloudy. And that was considered like our winter. And it was like in spring. So our winter was like, all right, maybe the mornings might be like 40 to 50 degrees, 50 degrees to 60 degrees during the day, and it'll cool down. So that was the biggest adjustment was humidity. Like 90 degree summers where I'm just walking outside and becoming sticky. And then also the driving in snow was like, I never driven in snow before. Like you guys already know, I know absolutely nothing about cars whatsoever because I just put gas in my tank, take it to the car wash once or twice a month because it never rains and that's all I would have to take care of it. So yeah. With that being said, it was also extremely fun because there was so many people. And you had anything you wanted to do. I lived I was very fortunate, and I lived just a couple blocks away from the beach. So, going down to the beach, and you're always wearing your Margaritaville and West Palm Beach shirts. I bet we'll see those in a couple episodes. And just really... the hat. Yeah, so it was just like always sunny, always beautiful outside. And now coming to Indiana and going back and forth, on summer break and that sort of thing, I really appreciated it a lot more because... I went through those horrendous winters of being inside and just like, you know what? I can't walk outside today. And really understanding there was a couple of years in my life I took that for granted. Yeah. So that's for sure. So we were at a pool yesterday, your wife's grandparents' pool. And one of our friends was like, oh man, winter's just around the corner. And I'm like, don't say that. Don't say that. I've been waiting for this time with friends for a while. So yeah.
Only 3 months till October.
Yeah, exactly.
That's still kind of crazy to think it's only 3 months away.
Hey, that means we're only like a month and a half away from college football season.
And then 2 months away from the NFL.
College football's better, but we won't go into that here. Oh,
actually,
can you get up at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning, watch College Game Day for 3 hours, and then watch games all the way until 3 a.m. Sunday morning on the NFL? No. It's literally a 20-hour experience for me every Saturday.
We'll just wait for every single game to be 60-3, where it's just absolutely blowouts.
No, that's just the bad ones.
Just the bad.
Then you get the two ranked teams where it's 48-45 or the 63 to 55 game. That is peak football. Right. I don't want to see 17-10.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Come on, 10-3. No, that's not what we're here for.
Right, those are the 1 o'clock games. You go to 4:25 or 4:05 Eastern time or 4:05 and then 8 o'clock at night. Those are the games you're watching.
Yeah, but I can never watch my team because I'm a Chargers fan, so I can never watch them.
You're a Chargers fan?
Justin Herbert, baby, because I'm an Oregon football fan.
That's fair. I was a huge Oregon fan. Not huge Oregon fan. I was because that's the school I wanted to go to.
So did I.
But then, money really got in the way. I'm like, okay, yeah. With all the scholarships I am getting and didn't even apply for, Indiana was still a choice. So go Hoosiers. They suck at basically every single sport.
But when it comes to football, I've been a diehard Oregon fan since I was 5 years old. So
okay.
Then moving to the Big Ten where I can actually go to games every year. Oh, it's amazing. Their game won't come on at 11 p.m. and end at 3 a.m.
Right.
I've gotten yelled at when they hit some game-winning field goals at 2:30 a.m. and I go ham. So that'll be nice to not have that anymore.
Right. And then mom's coming in with the chocolate or something like that.
Hey, it's worth it when they win. It's not when they lose.
Right.
They do that a lot. So
that's the one nice thing though. On California, it's PST. So it's you wake up on Sunday, games start at 10 o'clock. Then it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then you can actually go to bed at a reasonable time rather than staying up till midnight or past midnight.
Yeah,
and
but
having
then
to work
you miss the experience of every high schooler, especially every high schooler football fan that lives on Eastern time of like Sunday night football starts at 8:30. You've still got your homework to do at midnight, but like your fantasy team's down by like 17 points and all you got is your tight end left and you're going to do your homework, but then you're watching the game and your tight end scores 3 points and you go to bed mad so you don't do your homework and then your grade suffers and we've all been there.
That sounds like a personal
That sounds like, yeah,
experience.
that's a personal problem, you see. I get my homework done on time.
Yeah.
I had a pretty good GPA in high school, whether people like to believe that or not.
Oh, I mean, my GPA was fine, but there were some Mondays that we just didn't turn things in because my tight end would sell or my defense would give up 48 points and we would choke away the win, and I wasn't.
You should probably call out the tight end that you that didn't get you those 17 points because it seems like it's really reminiscent with you in this
It
moment.
was the year I made a Chargers theme team, so I had Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Gerald Everett. You bum every week that man would score 2 points, so I took him out and got their backup tight end, and then the next week he scored a touchdown. So I petitioned and won to have him just permanently banned from our league that year because I was so mad.
So your first mistake, I think, was making a Charger theme.
Oh
team.
yeah, we were terrible. We were absolutely terrible.
Yeah, you should have made a Saints theme team. You might have been better. Actually,
We probably
you
would
been
have
better.
with Taysom Hill at tight end. Taysom Hill's a cheat code at tight end in fantasy.
I'll ask you this one question, and then before we go back into the reality of this podcast of Christianity and that sort of thing, what caused you to be a Chargers fan in Indianapolis? Like, was it just because Herbert went to the Chargers?
It was. I never really had an NFL team. I liked the Steelers when I was a kid because my dad was a Steelers fan.
Bandwagon.
What?
Bandwagon.
And I thought Troy Polamalu with the hair. I'm like, this is a cool guy. Like, I can get behind this guy. And then I just never really had a team as I got older. Like, just didn't really care that much. Especially once the Steelers broke up and like it just all fell apart. And so then I became a Titans fan when Mariota got drafted. They threw him to the curb. I have a Falcons, like a black and red Falcons Mariota jersey when they signed him. And so it was like, hey, wherever, like Justin Herbert won us a Rose Bowl. Like wherever he goes, like that's where we go. And so we were praying hard that he didn't go to like the Jets or something because it would have been. It hasn't been great on the Chargers. It's been pretty miserable. But in Jim Harbaugh, we trust. It's all we can do. Granted, Herbert's probably going to throw the ball 12 times a game because Harbaugh's going to run it 70 times. But whatever it takes.
Right, it's going to take a couple of years for them to get good again, but
No, with Herbert, they can win tomorrow. They can go 10-7. They can go 10-7 and make the playoffs this year. Easy.
not with that AFC. Not with that
Easy.
AFC.
Their division's falling apart, dude. Travis Kelce's old. I don't care if they just won the playoff. If they just won the Super Bowl.
Well, he sold his soul. He's locked in for a couple more years.
Kelce's old. The Chiefs are falling apart. Even though, in my personal opinion, Andy Reid is the greatest football coach of all time. Just gonna put that out there. Greatest football coach of all time.
I agree with that.
The Broncos have Bo Nix, who I love as an Oregon fan, but that brother is not ready for the NFL. So, and then the Raiders. It's the Raiders. There's not much else to say. They could easily finish second in their division and have a chance at a wild card. Or just hope Patrick Mahomes dies or something. And
That is crazy.
that's ridiculous. Then you have a chance at the division. But Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback I've ever watched play the game. So they're not winning the division as long as he's there unless he gets hurt. Like genuine, unless he gets hurt, I don't think the Chargers ever beat the Chiefs for the division. Like as long as you have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they will win the division every year.
Probably, yeah.
You could give them us three at wide receiver, and Patrick Mahomes would give one of us 1,000-yard season.
Oh, easily.
I was about to say, it can't be all three of us because I can't catch a football.
Like,
Save my life.
One of us would have a 1,000-yard season, easy.
The thing is, I can't even argue that. It's probably true. He's had bums at wide receiver, and he still won the Super Bowl.
I mean,
so.
dude made Marquez Valdez Scantling a Super Bowl winner. Like, come on. It's Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He's only in the league because he's like 6'4". If he was 3 inches shorter, he would be at Costco. Easily a Costco employee if he was our height.
I mean, he's still pretty athletic, so you gotta factor that in.
It's Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Do you not watch the NFL?
No, not that much.
That dude's hands, for those that get the reference, he has worse hands than Nelson Aguilar. Like, he's bad. Have you not seen the Nelson Aguilar video?
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
So Aguilar was a wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles that got drafted very, very high and sucked. And this dude was on TV talking about this apartment building burned down. And this dude in Philly was on TV as they're interviewing him. He's like, oh, we were down there. They was throwing babies out the windows. Oh. We was catching them, unlike Aguilar, like on live TV. And so the man just got straight slandered by this dude. Greatest sports video to me ever. I love it. Right. Unlike Aguilar and his mishaps, the way he just looks at the camera. I love it.
All right, so let's bring it back into the questions we have lined up today. So, how did you guys like actually become Christians? And I could probably answer this after you, but I know you probably grew up in a Christian household. So we talked about this question a little bit beforehand. It's like, okay, your parents probably brought you to church, and when you're 8 years old, you probably just care about the goldfish and the little water fountain that are there, or like extra playtime. But like, when did you guys actually like spiritually and within your heart start to become a Christian?
You wanna go first?
After that cough, I think you're good.
Yeah, you cleared your throat. You're ready to go.
It's clear. For me, I kind of like you said, grew up in a Christian home. We never kind of settled on a church until I was in like 6th grade, whatever age that is. Y'all that are younger, y'all know. I don't know, like 10, 11, I guess. 6th grade, we kind of finally settled in a church, and that's kind of where like my spiritual journey kind of started, I would say. I wouldn't really count anything before because it was kind of like here. It's like kind of everything. I don't know how to explain it. It was very weird. But 6th grade, I would say, is when we started going. It's called Faith Community. For y'all in Indiana, y'all might know it's off of US 31, right by the Walmart. That's where we started at. Met this really amazing family, the Braganzas. Shout out to y'all also, for real. It's kind of where it started there. That's how I ended up at Suburban through them. It's kind of how I got to church most of the time, because my mom was always working and my dad couldn't really drive. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's really where it started. About 8th grade is where we fully sit in, got saved, got baptized, and it's kind of been a journey through since then.
Yeah, shout out Daniel in those 2K games. Oh
man. Do you want to share now?
Sure. I won't share that story, but sure. That one's not for the class. Yeah, so I grew up Catholic actually. Went to Catholic church until like I don't even know. 8th grade, I think. And then that's when we started going to Emmanuel, to like the Banta campus, which is right by around here somewhere. Mm-hmm. Horribly directionally challenged. So we started going there for a little bit, like flip-flopped. We would go to Emmanuel for a week. We would go like back to the Catholic church the next week, before we like finally committed to just going to Emmanuel, which is like would they be considered non-denominational?
Yeah, they say they are a non-denominational church.
Okay, so they claim they're non-denominational. I don't know what that means. I don't know anything about denominations. So, just a non-denominational Christian church. But I would not say I like had any care at all. I went just because I invited them and they wanted to go and we had fun. Because we would play cornhole and stuff. I liked the person in charge. Shout out Shay, still my man. And what's his face? Firefighter guy.
I don't remember his name.
Can't shout somebody out and forget their name.
That's just
sad.
It's been a long time.
That's just sad. I'm gonna shout this guy out, and I can picture his face. Jacked dude. He's going to firefighter school. Absolutely amazing. He was our like our small group leader for a couple years. We even had like a chant we would do like before and after group that was literally just us putting our hands in a circle and shouting his name. And now I can't remember what his name is. It's like,
Would you like to demonstrate the chant to maybe remember?
it was literally just like 1, 2, 3, Dean. Dean.
There we go.
Shout out Dean, my man Dean. That's what it was. That was a great idea, Jay. Shout out Dean. So I would only go for that. And so I I went to church because I was supposed to go to church on Sundays. I would help serve and stuff just because it's what I was supposed to do. And then I went to college, and only went to the campus ministry at college because my roommate wouldn't stop talking about it. Like every week was like, hey, you should come do this. Hey, I went to this. You should do that. And I'm like, no, like, I don't want to do that. Eventually I went just so he would stop asking me. And I was like, well, I'm not going to like meet any cute girls sitting in my apartment by myself. So it's worth a shot at least. So I went a couple times, again, more just out of obligation. My parents kept asking me if I was going anywhere. So I was like, yep, now I am. You can leave me alone. But it wasn't until like the start of my sophomore year where I started talking to my like lead campus pastor that I was like, oh, like this is like a relationship. Like this is the thing of like faith is a thing of a relationship. Like there's an obligation there for that. Like you don't just, like you don't just show up to church to show up to church. Like there's a purpose behind it. And so I started to like kind of understand that and realize that, and like wrap my head around what that meant and what that looked like and like just what grace meant. Like I didn't know. And so then I got baptized October of 2021. Would that be right? Because when would I have graduated? Yeah, because my last year would have been the next, because I graduated in 3 years. So I think that's right. It would have been like October 2021. But even then, something I've struggled with where I felt like I wasted my baptism, because I was in the midst of like a long, like sin struggle that I thought baptism would just like save. Like for some reason I was like, if I just get baptized, like
it would make all like the sin that you've done kind of like go away. And
yeah,
you just,
I was like,
start a
oh,
new leaf.
like I get baptized, I come up out of the water, and Jesus is like, oh, those chains are gone. And then the next day was right back in the middle of that. And so that was hard. And so I kind of fell for a while until like 2 years of like when you feel like you've wasted your baptism and you can't get that back. It's like, well, then I can't go back to having that relationship with God because I already had my chance and I blew that and threw that away. And so there's just a like mental and spiritual spiral. Mm-hmm. And it genuinely wasn't until like, as bad as this sounds, probably like March of this year, that it was like, oh, like this is what, like I finally had that, like, this is what that means. Like, this is what grace looks like. This is what love looks like. Like, this is what having a relationship with him means. Like, that's when it all kind of clicked into place, which came in the midst of like when we were going through struggles at church, with like the whole transition of staff, as we were going through all that. and just being an intern there at that time, still an intern, 6-month intern. If you're listening, elders, you should like consider moving me up out of that intern spot. 'Cause it's been a while. But like being in the midst of that and having those conversations is what, like, I went home that night and was like, hey, like, one, if this is ministry, I don't want to be a part of it. And two, I don't think I can be a part of ministry because the same thing that like is causing this whole transition of leadership in our church is the same thing that I've been struggling with for like 10 years. Like, I don't deserve to be here. And it was that like moment that like I would say like Christ actually met me and was like, hey, like, yeah, I don't know what this was, but like that was like the revelation moment of like, oh, like this is what grace and love means and what a relationship means. And since then it kind of, which was good timing because I think I started leading a discipleship group like 2 weeks later. So that would have been interesting. But yeah, so it's been a very kind of not a long time, honestly, just a few months, I would say, like truly having that relationship and that like union with Christ.
That's very interesting because like I thought, like, I guess I perceived you as somebody that's been like so devoted for such a long time. So it's like kind of cool that like, you know, I mean, it's not necessarily cool, but to see that you have just like such a passionate relationship and there's been sort of things that have kind of like made you like probably put you on your face and like actually like cause you to like submit over and over and over again and just be like, you know what, I'm getting back to the right path or that sort of thing. So do you think you were like saved before your first baptism? Or
I would say there was like before I got baptized, like there was a moment of like, this is what grace and love means. Like I accept that, I submit to that, like I am saved by that. But I think it was more of a like, from there was a mental block of like, I am just one is very hyper aware of all the mistakes I make and everything I do wrong. I overthink everything. I'm overthinking things that happened last night, like trying to work through those right now as I'm having this conversation. Like I can't help it. And so like I got baptized and then it was a like, oh, I got baptized and then don't know how to fix this problem. Like I don't deserve this. And so that kind of like, I would say I was saved, but there was no connection. It was more just like, I would have shown up to heaven and it would have been like, oh, hey, like you're here, but I have no idea who you are. Like,
right.
So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. So yeah.
No, yeah, there's a lot that I can actually kind of relate to your story. And I know I've shared it kind of either on stage or whatnot. And I'll actually put in the description, like if somebody wants to dive down to it further, like my baptism video. Just so I don't have to like continuously ramble about that sort of stuff on the podcast. If people want me to like actually just be vulnerable for an hour and say all of that and those sort of visuals and those sort of things that I've had, I'm more than happy to. But you know, I didn't grow up in a Christian, and I guess it's my turn to share. I didn't really grow up in a Christian household. My father was very religious, as you can probably see crosses around the house and that sort of thing. My mother, I guess I took her as like almost the opposite. It was kind of not strange, but like looking back on it, it's very strange to see like they were in a marriage for so long. It was like they were in a 22-year marriage, and then they finally split. I was like, okay, they were very devoted to each other, but they really didn't see eye to eye on like almost anything, besides like career advancement and that sort of thing. So I would go to church. I remember like Sunday school, kind of occasionally, like sometimes a couple times a month, but like my brother and I would go and we would be like, dude, we cannot wait to, like checking the clock. Like, when are we going to get out of here? Like when's our dad or like mom going to come pick us up? Really just like did not care. I remember even like looking back, I thought it was so funny at the time, but like looking back at it now, I'm just like, that was so wrong to say. Like my brother was like, oh, during prayer, he would look at me and be like, dude, free nap time. Like, let's go. It's like, you know, it was funny back in the day, but like now it's like, no, dude, prayer is such an immense sort of thing where you get to have that connection. And I'm a very stubborn individual, so I don't think like, if I was in a fully devout Christian household at that time, I think I would have probably like gone through it and like kind of fallen in and out and sort of weaving. But now I'm just like, I think a lot of people are mentioning like, dude, you are just like full steam ahead when it comes to like faith and that sort of thing. So that kind of happened from what grades like 1 to 6 or 1 to 5 or that sort of thing for Sunday school. And then after that, we were like, my mom really pushed us into sports. So that's why I'm just so athletic, is because it was like sports. Anything you're going to do, it's going to be sports. You're going to be athletic. Like, we're going to make sure you're not like, school and athletics are the only things we really care about. And if you're not excelling at both of those, you're not going to be able to do anything you want to do. So that's why I was like, okay, very good GPA. And a lot of people I would tell my JPL to people and they'd be like, huh? Like, you're getting into all these mischievous actions and you have a 3.9 GPA in high school. I was like, okay, what are you doing? Like, what? Tell me your secrets. So I didn't act. And then, after like into middle school and high school, we were like creasters, if you guys know what that term is. And for anybody that doesn't know, it's when you just go to church on Christmas and Easter. And so, that's why when you go to church on Christmas and Easter, you just see so many other people that are like never there, always eager to like get out so they're not stuck in the parking lot for so long. And like, that's kind of what I was, unless my dad was singing in the church choir, because he was very devout, and like he would like skip our sports and stuff like that to go like do stuff in the church. He was always traveling during the week. So I would only see him about like, I'd say 36 to 48 hours a week. Other than that, I would no contact with him. So I kind of did grow up in like a single parent household with like an asterisk, because whenever he was around, I wasn't. Like, cause I was going out because during the weekend I'm going to the beach. I'm going to have fun with my friends. I'm going to go do this. I got sports. He's relaxing on the one day he has off and then going to church on Sunday and then leaving Sunday night. And that was just such a cyclical thing for ever since I was 11 to pretty much all throughout my life. Like he still travels now and that sort of thing. So that was kind of like, seeing my mom spiral, and like, I only like feel so bad for her now looking back on it. Cause it was like, imagine you have like I guess at that time, like a 16-year marriage, and you see your husband for only a couple days of the week, and you're raising kids on your own and also trying to work and like doing this thing. Like, adolescent kids, we all know how teenagers can act, and we've probably done a lot of dumb things or just like been mean to our parents for reasons we probably would never want to replicate. Well, I don't know, I'm just speaking for myself on that or not. But then like looking back at it, I feel just so bad for her, because like I would have loved to stand up and been like, oh no, what are you, like, Dad, like, you need to be here for our family. As much money as you're making and pulling in so we can live this luxurious life. It just kind of blew up everything. It was like, oh, I gotta work. No, you also have to work on your family and like raising our children, because I was always raised to observe. So like my dad never really just like sat down and like told me stuff. He would act, my mom would act, and I would kind of just like see two very different people acting and kind of like pick and choose what I wanted to do. And in most cases, that wasn't waking up on a Sunday morning to go to church or like read a book or that sort of thing. So then, going through sort of different phases when I was in high school, I had this like, going through depression and like sort of suicidal thoughts and that sort of thing, and kind of actions as well. I had a vision where, I saw an angel. I was kind of, I guess I describe it as like trying to sneak into the back door of heaven, and like an angel in spirit saying like, oh, your time is not now, in a very visual sort of representation. Like I said earlier, if you want to get more into this sort of idea, I'll put it in the description. If you feel free to watch it, it's only a couple more minutes. And then that's when I was like, okay, the spiritual world is like actually existing. And then that was when I was 17. COVID hits 2-3 weeks later. And then next thing you know, I'm in senior in high school, COVID happens. Then I'm going to college. So my freshman year was basically all in dorms and that sort of thing. And then after that, I was like, yeah, college sucks. I'm just speed running it so I can get my degree. The only reason I got my degree was because of my parents asks for me to get my degree. And then throughout college, I like learned more about prayer, and like reflected. I'm like, okay, as a kid, I thought it was so silly. Let me try it out. God knew I needed like some sort of transactional relationship to kind of see like, oh yeah, the more you put into this, the more you're going to get out of it. And I was like, okay, I'll pray on the bus like one time a week, and like my prayers would get answered. And then like sophomore year rolled around of college, I was praying basically Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday or whenever I had classes at 8 a.m. on the bus. And I would always like pray for like things like, Lord, please bless me with a smile today, and have my smile like impact the people around me and like have me see it. So it was never like, oh Lord, bless me with my like sports parlay to hit today. It was like, bless me with like characteristics, like how I can better myself as a person, and like have that kind of be seen. So then the more I would say that, the more I would like go to class at 8 a.m. and be like the one that's like so giddy and up and just like Adam, and people are like, dude, this is business presentations right now. Like, why are you awake? It's 8 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. And it would just like give me so much energy. So then I was praying and listening to podcasts all the time, but you know, like still being like a wretched individual who was like praying, but then like couldn't really like do any, like wasn't really following a lot of the Bible, never really read my Bible until like half a year ago or something like that. And then I got this one tattoo. It's a cross with like a snake. I know you guys have seen it. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it. Yeah. And I had no kind of reason why. It was just like something that just like was so, you know, when something's guiding you and just like sticking with you, it's like, okay, as much as I wanted to, I booked a tattoo up. Found this idea, and I was like, perfect idea. I drew it out and everything. Not as good as it is. I can't draw for anything, but I was like the idea, and like I could translate the message that I wanted it to be. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to think about this for like a month, 2 months, and then try to book an appointment. And then after I booked the appointment, it was like another month after I actually got the tattoo. I couldn't think about anything else besides like, I want to put a cross on my body. Like I want to really like start to get into it, and like still, you know, teetering a lot with sin, you know, not as much as or a lot more than I do now. So then that happened. And the next thing you know, a year after that, I get my other tattoo. And then that's like a burnt ship. And it was like, okay, my morality, my thighs are my morality pieces. Like those are the things I walk on and stay ground on. That's why they're on my thighs. I also didn't want to like have my grandparents see like stuff on my body if I ever go to like their pool. And my dad is also very against tattoos. So when he saw my first tattoo, kind of when I wear shorts, it kind of cuts off and you can see about like this much on my, like right above my knee. And it was like 3 months after I got it, he's like, oh, is that a tattoo? And then I pull it up. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a cross though. So you can just see that his face kind of just like go back and forth. Like I hate tattoos, but it's like, it's a religious piece. So he's like, at least you're coming into faith. Don't really know what to do with it. So then those kind of like cemented it. And then I actually kind of like reached out to him and I was like, hey Dad, I want to get baptized. And I told him this about March of 2023. He was actually going to Emmanuel because he moved here by then. And he was like, oh yeah, on Father's Day, they're doing baptisms. Like I'll have like try to sign you up. And then like a couple months later, I got baptized after talking to Jeremy, the young adult leader at Redeemer. He was like, yeah, that's a public bath. Like you didn't actually submit yourself. You're like, my goal was to like further endow myself into faith. And it was like, okay, I remember at Danny, the pastor at Redeemer, was like, oh, if water isn't the thing to heal you, like if it was, we would just we wouldn't even preach. We'd just take like a fireman hose and just spray everybody in the crowd and be like, come up, like that sort of thing. But they really didn't like interview me or necessarily care as much as they probably should have. I think it was more or less about how many people they can baptize.
You're talking about at Emmanuel?
At Emmanuel, yeah. Because I remember I had a 5-minute FaceTime call with one of the people, and they're like, oh, we want to make sure like you're legit. FaceTime me, and they're like, all right, what's your name? How old are you? When's your birthday? Like yada yada yada. Like, do you like God? Like, do you actually like submit to him? And it's like easy to just say on the phone, like, oh yeah, like I'm just motivated. Like I'm ready to get after it. Like I'm ready to seek his face. And not actually mean it. It wasn't where my like I could say something, but like, you know, it was a lie. It wasn't where my heart truly was. It was where my heart wanted to be. And then that was June 18th, 2023. I get into a relationship 10 days after with the person that I kind of, we ended kind of late April area. And I was very motivated. She seemed like a Christian individual. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to make that same mistake that my parents made, where it's like we clashed on moral values. We got our Bibles, we got our first Bibles together, and this is actually the copy that my first ever copy, the NIV version, because I was like, as much as you like the King James version,
I don't even own a King James version.
okay. Yeah,
That's what the people on the mission trip that I would always go on to Harlan, Kentucky every year. They only use King James versions down in the South. So that's
Okay.
just kind of what it's kind of what I grew used to.
That's
right.
how Suburban was too. But yeah.
Yeah, because I try to read that Bible, and I'm just like, I'm not trying to read Shakespeare. What is this, like some sort of play? So at least it's a Bible that I'm able to like read and actually interpret and like understand the core messages of a lot easier than thou every third word. So then like we started reading this. It was the NIV version. As much as I would like take stuff out of it and be like, oh yes, I am going this way. Like I am pursuing the Lord. Like yes, what is in the Bible is correct. She was the exact opposite. Like, oh, it's a book written by men for men to teach men. Like I don't really get any value out of it. And having more liberalistic sort of idea about religion. I don't know how she's doing now. I still pray about her all the time. Hopefully she comes to Christ. So then, after that, I would continuously like read my Bible. I was going through, like, I picked her out of a hard time. I was going through a hard time myself. We were getting into a bunch of arguments. I was just kind of trying to lean on the Bible as much as possible. And then we were like arguing, bickering all the time. And this was like something we never actually did a lot of. And then I made that one prayer. It's like, God, if this woman isn't meant to be in my life, please get her out of it. Within 48 hours to like 72 hours, I get a call like 8 a.m. on Sunday. But that's when I usually wake up to go to church. I usually do that, or that's when I was doing it. I get a call, like instead of my alarm, she's like, hey, I've been up all night. Like, I think like we should probably end the relationship. And I was just like, all right, sounds good. Like I guess like big boss in it. Like, all right, no, like whatever. It sounds good. Like I didn't think anything of it because when I was on the phone hearing her like say it, she's like, I've been up all night thinking about it. And I was just like, dude, this is just God answering my prayer. Like I saw this prayer on TikTok. I prayed it, and it's like, all right, it was answered pretty quickly and according to God's timing. So she was like, are you not like going to like fight for it or anything? And I was like, we're not married. There's nothing to fight for here. Like, as much as I don't want this to happen, I think change is also good. And like, we have been going through a rough time. We're 10 hours away. I was driving 10 hours away to Cornell to go see her. Because she's a very, very, very intelligent woman. Computer science at a master's degree at Cornell for computer science, doing theory, which you might know is one of the hardest things you can do. Very intelligent woman. She'll be successful in her own way. But I was like, no, this, when your hearts are clashing, it's just not a good relationship. So then didn't have to do that anymore. I didn't really have any friends until I was like praying, and then that sort of thing. And then I was actually a server in Indianapolis. One of our friends invited me to Redeemer. About 3 weeks of me being at Redeemer, 4 weeks of me being at Redeemer, I do this prayer because I'm becoming like so persistent with the Lord. I actually made Christian friends. I've been praying for that a lot. And I was just like so happy and just like, it's like, dude, I'm so starstruck right now. Like I can't talk. Like I'm just so happy I have good friends for like one time in my life, because they've all been like, party crowd or just like athletes. Like no, like good-hearted people that I can consider my friends. And then they're just like, I would pray. I prayed about that all the time. And then we just started getting into fights. I was like, dude, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. Like, this is not worth my time. Do that. Did the prayer. Broke up with her from 8 o'clock to 8:24. 8:24, I was leaving the house, going to church. And it was the one day that one of the elders, DJ, got called out for some of the actions that he was doing. And that was the whole day where I learned about the lament process. And I think that was the actual day, like I submitted myself to the Lord, and I would do it over and over and over again, being like, if I didn't submit, I'm doing it now. If everything I haven't said about submission hasn't happened, I'm doing it now. And then there was one time I went to go like on my face in front of the stage. And then I was just like, no, I'm in such a good spot in my life right now. Like I want to praise him while I'm also on a great note. And then that's where I had the conversation with Jeremy, like, oh, have you like thought about baptisms? And I was like, oh, I did. I don't know. I'm kind of teetering with getting rebaptized. I don't know what kind of that looks like in scripture. And we talked about it for like 2 hours a week before I got rebaptized, or I had my actual baptism. He was like, yeah, this seems like you need to do it. And all the other guys in the room are like, yeah, we see it. We're going to decide for you. Like, you need to do this. Like, this is exactly where your heart is. And I was like, I literally just put up my hands. I'm like, all right, I'm down. Let's do it. And then the next week, I got baptized, which was June 9th, 2024. So for time reference, we're filming this on July 14th. So it's just been just over a month that I've gotten baptized, but been saved for just a couple months.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Awkward silence, but hey, at least we all got to kind of share our stories and that sort of thing. Is there any other questions that you guys have for each other, or any points that you might have missed that you want to kind of retouch?
I don't think so.
Or is that the end of the first episode?
We call that the end of the first episode.
All right, that's the end of the first episode. So we don't know how much we're actually going to keep of this. I know there was a lot of sports talk, but that kind of gets to show who we are as people. I know over the next, or this was kind of the introductory episode. So over the next episodes, we'll actually have like topics that we're going to be discussing. So feel free to either leave comments, suggestions, kind of critique or correct us and sort of things. I know I plan to watch all these back and kind of like figure out where I messed up. What can I learn on to like be more articulate with my words and that sort of thing. But I'll also leave the email that we created for this podcast as well. So if you want it to be kind of hidden, or you want to send a message or a prayer request or anything like that, or even just kind of like care needs, if we're able to do anything like that, feel free to email us, leave some stuff in the comments. But I think that was a pretty successful first episode. Yep. So I'd love to shake your hands, boys. That was, yep. I know you're pretty far, so Enze's got me for you. But yeah, that was the first episode. Just the stars of the show. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you guys. See you next week.